field of wellness, healers from across the field on the stage. If we could have on the stage Hilda Kalab. Welcoming Hilda, coming from the United Kingdom, a healer, teacher, writer, and public speaker, a great transformational healer. Welcoming Hilda. If we could invite Swarnima Bhattacharya. Welcoming Swarnima, the founder and CEO of TheaCare, Women's Health Companion. Ivy H. Russell. Welcoming Ivy. So many lovely ladies in the house. This lovely lady behind me, Ivy, coming from Bangladesh, is the CEO and founder of Maya. Just Maya. Simple. Maya. Beautiful. Anuradha Pant. Anuradha, are you with us? Yes, you are. Take a walk. She is the principal of the GD Goenka Public School. The students of which school we heard yesterday, they were absolutely inspiring in their leadership and their youthfulness. So this is a very proud leader, the principal of that very school. Let's give her a warm round of applause. Ayukta Thakur. Welcoming Ayukta. Coming from the UAE, she's the co-founder of Integrat Center and Special Olympics. Full of surprises. She's been working with special needs in the area of special needs for a few years now, so really wonderful to have her with us. Barbara Wood. Barbara, tell us where you are and we'll make some noise. Dr. Nupur Kohli. We know that Dr. Nupur Kohli had a last-minute emergency. She's not going to be able to be with us. To initiate this discussion, it's my pleasure to invite Hilda.
Hi. Hope you can hear me okay. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm an energy healer. I'm in the UK, and I must say there's an amazing energy in the room with all these amazing people here. It's so good to connect with you. So, and our theme is reimagining peace through wellness. So, a little bit about myself. I'm an energy healer, I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a writer. I lead a life that I feel is fulfilled. But it wasn't always that way. I didn't always have inner peace and wellness. And how did I find my inner peace through wellness? Because if we all find inner peace through, then the world is going to be a peaceful place, right? If we don't have inner peace, the world is not going to be a peaceful place. Well, it was a long journey to find inner peace and to become well and to become truly well. So on my father's side, his parents were indentured laborers working in the sugar plantations of Demerara in South America. And he grew up one of 10 children. He was incredibly poor. And his grandparents originally came from Bihar, which is probably the poorest state in India, and they were from the 4th caste. So they left India in search of a better life at the turn of the last century. And because of the background my father had, he never spoke about his family. And so while I have 60 cousins, and most of them are on my father's side, I never really knew about them until the last decade. So I grew up with this silence and this shame and this guilt on one side of the family, which is really quite tragic. And with this shame and this guilt, I couldn't find self-acceptance. I couldn't find self-love. There was a lot of shame, obviously, and a lot of guilt about the background that we came from because of this silence. So, and so my first message really about finding inner peace and wellness is about forgiveness of self, about forgiveness of the actions that you take towards others, and about the actions that they take towards you, actions which you might not like, actions which you might find hard to take and judge yourself for taking those actions. But the first step to inner wellness is forgiveness. And once I found forgiveness of myself, then I learned about self-love. And from self-love, everything else comes. When you have self-love and self-care and you actually care about yourself, then you attract the law of attraction, right? You find others who are also in that space, and then things become better in your life. So forgiveness leads to self-love, self-acceptance, greater love and compassion. And so began my journey from working in war zones for the Red Cross to becoming an energy healer and helping others to heal. So forgiveness. I also just want to say, because there's so many inspirational women here today, and men as well, a couple of women that have inspired me over my life, who I've had the good grace to have come into contact with. So I went to school with a girl called Joanne Rowling, and she is now known today as J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. So inspiring indeed. And so you could say I went to the real-life Hogwarts. But I have to say that the real-life Hogwarts was not a magical place whatsoever. In fact, it was kind of a very average school that didn't really help you to become the best version of yourself. It had very low expectations and average standards. And so to kind of achieve at the school that we went to, the real-life Hogwarts, to get good grades was overcoming a lot of challenges, and to achieve well was quite rare. But she obviously has created with her imagination and with her creativity a different world, a world of magic. And that is what I would like to leave with you as my second message, that no matter where you are, no matter how many challenges you have, and she overcame so many as a single parent, living on next to nothing, through her imagination and through her creativity, through knowing who she was, she stayed with her life purpose, which was to become who she is today and create some magic in the world. Another woman that I worked with, that I had the great pleasure to work with about 20 years ago at the Red Cross, was Princess Diana, and I was involved in a campaign, a global campaign to ban landmines. And as a result of her involvement, that campaign rose from something that was quite small and regional and not really being paid to any attention to media-wise or politically, to something that became a global campaign that led to 160 countries signing the Ottawa Treaty to ban the sale and manufacture of landmines. So whenever I have challenges, I look to those two women to keep my inspiration going. So having looked at J.K. Rowling's World of Magic, I have now published 2 picture books, and I'm working on a third. And having looked at Diana and her humanity and her love and compassion, I see that we can cross borders, we can reduce the stigma around mental health, reduce the stigma around AIDS and leprosy, that we are all one people, we are all connected, and that is all that matters in this world. So thank you very much for listening to the messages and the inspirations that I have today. It's been a pleasure to be here at the WEF. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hilda, for sharing Those beautiful nuggets of inspiration. It reminded me of everything that you were talking about, especially when you talked about bringing the healing in. It reminded me that darkness cannot drive out the darkness. Only light can do that. So you really are a beautiful representation of that. Thank you so much for that and the work you do. I'd like to invite Swarnima Bhattacharya to speak with us. She's also the curator of the first Wellness Festival, Women's Health Wellness Festival in India.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. I hope you've had a nice lunch. So this is my first WEF and I'm really excited to be here with, I think, women from, I don't know, each continent here. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's something, it's fantastic. Whenever I have any special days when I have to speak to a great crowd or, something like that, I end up wearing something that my mother gave me or something that belonged to her, and today is no different. And as, thank you. And as I stand here and as I hear these amazing people and I talk to all of you, definitely, in the previous few sessions, we, heard the stories of some great entrepreneurs who have broken so many barriers, who have scaled so many heights by themselves, sometimes, coming up against obstacles that are unimaginable for us. And it's definitely a story of personal grit. But if you really think about it, have we taken this journey alone? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that just our personal story and just our personal accomplishments have put us where we are today. And we don't even know the invisible forces that have, really come together to put us where we are, to put us in this room where there are women, from all over the world with experiences mirroring each other's. It's not possible that we reached here all by ourselves. Our parents, yes, but also invisible forces, people who have been complicit in creating spaces for us. I don't know Dr. Harbeen Arora personally, but there's a space that has been created. There is a complicity that has been, engaged with, which has put us all over here. And as we talk about imagining peace with wellness, I would urge you all to think about complicity. We don't know whether the world will ever be disease-free. We don't know whether the world will ever be war-free. We don't know. There are so many things that are beyond our control. But there is one thing that is firmly in our control on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis, and that is choosing our complicity. Are we complicit in good, and are we complicit in bad? Every time, when I work extensively in female health, and there are so many stories of women who have, hormonal and menstrual disorders, and more than the physical discomfort, what really troubles them is the perception of people, is the way they have to hide issues like, menstrual disorders. They have to hide personal painful experiences like miscarriages, abortions, and, menopausal depression. This is 2019 and we're still hiding these things. So my question is, when we're talking about wellness, when we're talking about peace, what can we do? We would be presumptuous if we said we can change the world. What we can do is change what we are complicit in. Every time a colleague says, I'm having terrible menstrual cramps, and I say, take some rest, it's fine, it's time for you to regroup today. I'm complicit in good. Or if I say, hey, don't be such a weakling, women already have a hard time at work, just man up, I'm complicit in bad. So when we talk about wellness, peace, and our small, tiny individual role in it, I would just urge you to think about all the forces, all the people who've been complicit in putting us where we are today, and how we can pay it forward, building each other up, and choosing to be complicit in good every single day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Swarnima, for taking us to an area that sometimes we tend to neglect or oversee. So thank you for bringing our thoughts in that direction. It's pertinent. Thank you. I'd like to invite Ivy Russell from Bangladesh, the CEO and founder of Maya.
Hi. Hi, I'm Ivy. I'm CEO and founder of Maya. Hello, Delhi. I've just come from Dhaka, which is a population of 10 million with, I think, to Delhi with 20 million population, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think...
And counting.
And counting. With 20 million population, there's 20 million hopes and dreams and 20 million challenges as well, same as we face in Dhaka city. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me. And we live in a world of conflict, as we know. And in this world of conflict, what keeps us going is hope. And I'm grateful for WAF and Dr. Harbin for giving us this opportunity to come and talk about this. Primarily she's got a lovely soul and someone who's the heart to bring people forward and keep herself at the background. If you look at just a bit of the history, 1980s was about the chemical weapons that Iraq used against Iran. In the 90s, it was the bloodshedding of Bosnia, Rwanda. 2000s, where it's about Myanmar's expulsion of refugees. There's always something or the other, always conflict happening. I mentioned the Rohingyas because they're now residing in Bangladesh, where I'm from. I live in San Francisco, and I run a tech startup in Bangladesh. So I commute from San Francisco to Dhaka. And I'd like to, thank you, and I'd like to just mention that while I'm doing this commute, am I doing my part? Is my country doing enough for these Rohingyas? I live in Chittagong. It's a small town in Bangladesh, and the camp is 2 hours away from where I live. And it keep asking me, like, am I doing enough? Maybe not, but I think moving on to a happier note, I want to mention my husband who works at Google, and I mention it because my mother-in-law referred me to Dr. Arora, through which I discovered this amazing world, is they arranged a football match to go and play with the Rohingyas. And as my colleagues were saying at the stage, that wellness can be defined in very different ways, not just doing the typical things that we do, but going and playing football with these Rohingyas made them feel at peace. So that was a fun way of including people in our society, and they felt really blended. So those 90 minutes of play, which is going to happen every month from now on, was peace. I also want to mention my startup, Maya, which is a digital healthcare delivery service, anonymously via messaging. We've done close to 1 million consultations so far. What it is essentially is anyone who has a question asks on our app, and our AI and our natural language process algorithmically process it to the right expert. In a country, and we've grown up in the region, we know access to good quality information is not easy, and often, as my colleague was saying, it takes a lot of time to get the right experts. And recently, Facebook did a documentary in one of our users who's based in most conflicted region in Bangladesh called Rangamati, where she gathers in a tea stall called Chayer Botak, and she gathers all the women who can't access information, who can't access education in this tea stall, and they question about 100, 200 questions each day to Maya. And the Maya's experts reach out to them, give them mental health and physical health expertise, just breaking through those barriers of healthcare or well-being being expensive, out of reach, or just having the taboo of not being able to talk about their periods or their pregnancy, domestic violence. So this room gives me that hope that each one of us here is doing very likely or in a great way our part to eradicate those conflicts and bring us together. So thanks everyone for listening, and thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivy. Ivy, thank you so much for being the voice of the women of Bangladesh. Thank you. You've broken the stereotype. As we speak, you're breaking them. Thank you so much for that. Flank is back to you. I'd like to invite Anuradha Pant, an academician of much repute and merit with a career spanning over 3 decades. It's an honor.
Good afternoon, wonderful people sitting there, and the beautiful ladies out there. A very, very warm good afternoon to all of you. I got a write-up to read here, but after listening to all these wonderful people speaking about their lives, I felt I have a platform to share how we grew up and reached the place where I am today. Coming from a very conservative Brahmin family from Uttarakhand, we were 3 sisters. And coming from a background where the girls got married at the age of 13 and 14, I learned to respect myself from my mother, who stood strong and opposed her relatives and against the society, made sure all 3 daughters of hers are well educated, trained, and competent enough to fight the odds of the world. Today, all 3 of us are well placed in our professional as well as personal spaces. Yes, hats off to my mom. She trained my sister to become the first lady officer in Indian Air Force. And she trained me to become a principal at a tender age of 35, which in itself was a record. However, her training has made us very, very strong, emotionally, mentally, in both ways. And I wish, as an educationist, to impart the same strength to all my children. I made it a point that any student of mine who needs my time, my special attention, I am there for that particular child. We opened the school for all the special children, be it the one with the autism or with Down syndrome, so that I am able to sensitize the other students about their needs, to make them aware that you are lucky and they are honest. The honesty that you find in these special children touches your heart. It touches the chord of your heart. They are very honest. They are God-gifted. They can see through the facade of your makeup, your dressing, your behavior, and they can see the real you in between. And the love they shower on you is unconditional and unadulterated. Today, in this sector of education, we are facing the problem of teenage aggression. Like she said very nicely, the spirituality, meditation is a way to reach there. And my effort has always been and will always be to train these children to achieve their goal without losing the sight of their final destination and without losing the touch from their roots. And I would really like to thank Dr. Harbeen Arora for giving us this opportunity to connect here with all the soul sisters. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Anuradha. I think you're not an educator, you're an awakener. Here's to you. Thank you. Talking about educators, we have another one, Ayukta Thakur, welcoming you. Also working very deeply in the field of special needs, coming from the UAE.
Thank you. I'm truly honored to stand before you and beside you in one of our proudest moments. All of us over here have accomplished, have adapted, have dreamt of what we wanted to do, and this is why we're standing here together strong. I started my journey 7 years ago while volunteering at a special needs school in Dubai. There was a lot of self-growth from starting from the bottom as a volunteer and an assistant teacher, then to being promoted as a class teacher, and to now proudly standing as a co-founder of Integrate Center, Dubai's first center for young adults for special needs, catering to young adults between the ages of 16 to 25. Woo! Thank you. When I tried to open the center, initially there was a lot of rejection from the ministry, from the government, and just from the general population. Why are you wasting time advocating for people with special needs? Why are you providing them with opportunities when they can't do anything? But I didn't believe that. While working in a school for 3 years, I saw their abilities, I saw the potential. But what I didn't see were opportunities. And this is what I studied. I studied the gap for 3 years. I conducted focus group meetings to see what parents wanted and to better analyze the abilities of young adults with special needs in the UAE. And that's how Integrate Center came together. Integrate Center focuses on providing them with life skills that quite often we take for granted. Communication skills, personal care skills, domestic skills, the ability to use different modes of transportation. We provide them the platform to learn all these skills, to become more independent, to have a more meaningful life, a right that we all have the right to. It's something that everyone needs opportunities to. It wasn't until my undergraduate studies that I realized that I had a responsibility as a youth to represent the underserved population of individuals with special needs that make up 15% of the world's population. That's 1 billion people living with a disability. I didn't want to advocate for them. I wanted to advocate with them. While setting up a school allowed me to advocate with them, but it was a very regional impact. It wasn't until I was selected to be a board member for the Special Olympics UAE team that I was actually able to make a worldwide impact. The impact was that we had a record-breaking of 7,500 athletes representing themselves and their abilities, their intellectual disabilities, in a worldwide series of events for 1 week. It was recently held in Abu Dhabi from March 14th to the 21st, and we saw another level of compassion. Through the Special Olympics, World Games, I was able to have people experience and witness an unforgettable level of love, respect, acceptance, commitment, courage, determination, passion, and potential. And it made me love everything I do even more. As shared, 15% of the world's population live with a disability, and 80% of the disabled population who are of working age are unemployed. But how could they have access to work placements when 80% of the disabled population have no opportunities or have no services to themselves? There's no peace, there's no well-being in that. I hope more centers like mine establish their bases to provide them with the services that they have a right to. Gender equality and inclusion of people with disabilities is not a human right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. It's time we translate these rights to a reality. It's time we choose what matters and work towards that and choose to include. In conclusion, quite often we think, to the world we may be one, but as educators, youth leaders, game changers, and most importantly, as women who empower, to the ones you're making a difference, you are the world. Thank you.
Ayukta, we are so proud of the work you're doing. You've moved us. Thank you. We wish you so much luck in your journey ahead. We know you're going to make a difference every day. Thank you. I'd like to invite our last lovely speaker for this panel, this lovely lady, Barbara Wood, coming from Australia. She's an oncology psychotherapist who set up Boob Buddies.
I did.
We can't wait to hear from you. Namaste.
Namaste. Firstly, I'd like to thank Dr. Habeen for inviting me here to speak today. And I would also like to thank you for coming to hear my thoughts and ideas on reimagining peace with wellness. When I was given this topic, the first things that came to mind were world peace and mental health. As we're all aware, for many people our world is not a peaceful place in which to live. Atrocities occur daily, just to varying degrees. From bullying and domestic violence to terrorist attacks and wars which claim the lives of many people. For the sake of mankind, it is blatantly obvious that this way of being has to change. And so today I'm going to share my thoughts and ideas how together we can create a peaceful world, a world in which narcissism and the desire to control no longer exists. Power will exist for the betterment of people, regardless of age, gender, race or ethnicity. A world in which peace will prevail and people will no longer have to live in fear. One of my chosen roles in life is to help adults and children cope with the emotional, debilitating side effect of cancer. As a result of sharing my days with these amazingly courageous people, I couldn't help but see the correlation between the world in which we live and cancer, as the similarities are uncanny. Both are influenced by control. Both are insidious and strike without warning. Both invoke feelings of insecurity. Both destroy peace. And both take lives. When I'm with my patients, one of the things I integrate into my therapeutic narrative sessions is a click program which I've devised. Together we I help them work towards creating care for themselves and for others, to actually listen to what is being said as opposed to just hearing words, to come up with ideas in which they can be empowered and help to empower others, and importantly, to teach them what compassion is about and how to be compassionate towards themselves and others. For if all these things add up, then in turn we have acts of kindness. I intend to have my CLICK program taken into schools worldwide, as the future lies in the hands of our children. I believe that if this knowledge is embedded into the minds of our children, the future generations will see our world through a different lens, and therefore our world will be a more peaceful place in which to live. For as much as this may sound ludicrous and unreal to some, we cannot give up hope that our world will change. I hope that I've shed light on the critical need for this new approach to create world peace, and that as I leave India and head back to Australia, you're inspired and motivated to talk about my CLICK program to schools within your area and help them integrate it into their schools. By doing so together, we will make a difference. Knowledge is power, and if we educate our children and teach them how to find inner peace, we are positively influencing the future leaders of our world. As the Dalai Lama so aptly states, world peace begins with inner peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much for leaving us with that really profound message. World peace begins with inner peace. You are a true ambassador of positivity, peace and light. Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate you being here. And for that, in fact, you all are ambassadors of peace and positivity. And for that, we'd like to offer you a small memento of our gratitude. Dr. Harbeen, I invite you to please give away. I'd like to call upon our first awardee this afternoon, Hilda Kala. Please accept this honor on behalf of the All Ladies League at the Women Economic Forum in New Delhi as the Exceptional Woman of Excellence. Swarnima Bhattacharya, please accept the honor as an iconic woman creating a better world for all. It's an honor for us to offer this honor to you. Ivy Russell from Bangladesh, accepting this award for the amazing work she does at Maya, representing the women of Bangladesh, helping them strive into a better tomorrow. Anuradha Pant, congratulating the principal of GD Goenka Public School and acknowledging her work as an exceptional woman of excellence. Ayupta Thakur, please step up to accept this award as an iconic woman creating a better world for all. Inviting Barbara Wood to accept this honor as an exceptional woman of excellence from Australia, working with children in oncology, physiotherapist. Our last awardee, who unfortunately couldn't be with us because of a last-minute medical emergency, but I do invite our lovely sister Carla Hota from the Netherlands to accept the award on behalf of Dr. Nupur Kohli. do invite you to come up for a group photograph. And the rest of us can create some blood circulation. It's time to digest all the yummy rotis. How many butter naans in the belly? Work it out. I think we need to get up because it's the next session on music.